cop blog became like the most read, the most popular feature in a lot of these local little papers. And when you think about it, it's kind of become that way online, you know, where all the little blogs and just you kind of look for details sometimes, right? And these first-person accounts kind of thing. And so that was the old days. It was all in print. And everybody, in fact, everybody loved the cop blog so much that we had an editor at the Daily Pilot that every year at the end of the year would do best of the cop blog. And it was like funny stuff, you know, like, oh, you know, there was a guy, a caller on Maple Street reported a man laying on her lawn, and, you know, when they got there, he burped at him or something, you know, like there's all these funny incidents, so they would pass stuff like that. So, I mean, I went through basically learning how to be a good journalist by just going out in the local community. You go to all the events, you go to school board meetings, you go to city council meetings. Mainly, you have to go through all those boring things, it sounds boring, to find out about what people are really into and interested in and what's important to them, right? If you're a parent, obviously what happens at schools is very important. If you own a small business, obviously you're really interested in maybe bigger world issues, the economy, maybe even international business and things like that. So you kind of really have to understand the community that you're covering, and I think that's going to be one of the key lessons for you, no matter what the medium, you know, whether it be online or in print, in a magazine, on a blog, even just a newsletter, right? The e-newsletters are a big thing right now, getting information up that way once a week. You have to really get to know your audience and understand what they're interested in and what's relevant to them and what's important information. In the big news business, so then when I moved on to these bigger newspapers, it gets really hard, and I think that's why the big newspapers really had a hard time, because they weren't able to focus on one niche audience. They were trying to attract everybody, right? They're trying to attract you as a young student, as well as the, you know, the CEO of a big company. And I think because of that, they kind of started getting removed from really understanding and knowing what these different communities wanted. And I think that's why the newspaper kind of started becoming irrelevant for a lot of audiences. You know, if you're young, you don't read it anymore because you don't see yourself in there. There's not information in there that you want to know, except maybe like the mini page. We used to have the Orange County Register. There was something called the mini page, and it was on Sundays, and it was like for kids, you know, and it had puzzles and games and little like kind of stories, news stories, written kind of so that they could read it. And I thought that, you know, that was brilliant. And I feel like, you know, what I loved about the news business was trying to find that mini page for every different audience in the community. So I ended up working, so after working at these small papers in Orange County, I actually went to go work for the LA Times right after the riots. So what the LA Times, again, was already being criticized for being this big newspaper that covering this huge area, right? LA is huge, and never really reporting on all the smaller elements or every little element of LA. You know, you didn't hear about South Central until there was a carjacking or there was a gang fight. And they were really getting criticized for not really even reporting on LA. And I still feel that sometimes. I feel like the LA Times has tried to compete as a national newspaper, so they send all their reporters up to Washington to cover politics, which is very important. But we have so much going on here. You know, I live in Long Beach, and I never see Long Beach news in the LA Times. So I don't, you know, and so that's why I go to the little paper, which is kind of, you know, fun and goofy, but it also gets me, oh, they're gonna, you know, they want to put in a desalination plant to, you know, to help provide water, but it's going to have all these impacts. I mean, here's how to learn more about it. You know, I mean, I don't get that in the LA Times. So I think that's been the challenge for the newspapers. That's why I think the newspaper industry imploded, because they were already hurting, but they were the only game in town. And then as soon as the internet came along, suddenly it's even taking their advertising, right? Suddenly there's free Craigslist where you can post your ad, and you don't have to pay the big advertising prices that the newspapers had. So I think you need to look at all of that background and really keep that in mind as you pursue, because communication is still super important. The thing is, the audience is wide, and you and you need to find your niche. It's hard to kind of cover it all. So to be successful, and that's why blogs are so successful, right? So, Huffington Post, it started off as just this almost like this little e-newsletter kind of thing, but they were focusing on a certain, perspective on politics, and people loved it. Before you know it, it was huge. So that's the thing. So then they can become too huge, and they have to be careful to make sure that they keep focused on their audience. So I saw all of that working at the LA Times. I realized that, wow, they didn't even know, a lot of the reporters up there, they would all be in that building. They never even went outside to go have lunch. Where I'm the opposite. I'm like, I want to go to that little Chinese pastrami place. That's Chinese, or it was, like the Chinese Mexican stand, and just had like mixed of food. And then of course Tokyo was down the street, which I was really familiar with, which is where our family used to always go, and Koreatown and Chinatown, and just all this great food is a great way to like start learning the community, right? So that's how I was as a reporter. I told everybody I ate my way through my beat. I would go out in the community, and I knew that the best barbecue was going to be at a mom and pop place. I'd go in there and I'd, hear what people are talking about, find out, learn about the business owner, and so I loved being a reporter. I was a reporter for probably a good 10, 15 years, and just loved just getting to know the community, like I said, and pretty soon you build sources. So by going out and really being interested and trying to find out, be curious about what's going on in the community, people start getting that, and they'll start calling you, right? But you have to make those relationships, and you have to show that you're sincerely interested in getting information and finding out what those people want to read or find out about. So yeah, after a while, I had like the mayor calling me from the golf course every morning when I was at the Daily Pilot. And it depends on the person too. I mean, different mayors come and go, but this one mayor, Phil Sansone, marvelous man, he would basically call me at 8:30 in the morning because he'd already been out on the golf course. And that's how he got information, right? So he and his buddies would be out, and a business owner would come up to him and go, "They were tearing up the street last night at 2 o'clock in the morning. Why are you allowing them to do that?" And it was a big uproar or whatever. So, he tells me, "Oh yeah, so we're gonna have to address that at the city council meeting, and we need to find out why our maintenance, our city public works guys were out there at 2 o'clock." Just little. It seems like little stuff, but that's the kind of stuff that people get really ticked off about. So he would call me at 8:30 in the morning from the golf course saying, "Oh, so and so was just telling me that," and he would tip me off and he'd give me news, what the news was in the city, what things that people were pissed off about that morning. And he was a marvelous source because he would do that every morning. It was like a routine for us. So that's the ideal that you want to get to as a e-journalist, as a blogger, whatever you want to call yourself. If you are going to become a communication medium for an audience, you need to just get out and really get to know people and talk to them and find out what's important. So I got to do that for, like I said, 10, 15 years as a reporter, loved it. And